Hi, good morning. I'm sorry. This is section B.
Yes po.
All right. As promised a while ago by Dr. Valerio, whenever I give the lecture on female physiology, I usually send um, guide questions the week before so that during the discussion, it is just not me who will be speaking. And in the previous semesters, in the previous years, I used to call students to recite prior to the discussion. But I realized that last week was prelims and this week you are supposed to give um, the video and the poster presentation. So I felt it's too much if bibigyan ko pa kayo ng additional assignments. And because of the compressed schedule brought about by the upcoming face-to-face meetings, nagkasabay pa yung lecture ng adrenal with female physiology now. So I just would like to give, ako na lang muna magtatrabaho, no? So this is a pure lecture on the last topic on endocrinology, and this is about female physiology. I know you're tired listening for straight 4 hours a lecture coming from a prelims. Naiintindihan ko naman na pagod kayo, pero sayang kasi hindi ko pwedeng hindi ibigay itong lecture na to because of the schedule. So I hope kahit nakahiga, kahit anong position, I hope you will listen. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them until we finish it by 12 noon. Okay, Andre, sino may nagbubukas na? I can only see several of you in my screen. So, if you, Audrey, kay Nicole, thank you for opening yung video. Okay lang naman kahit hindi naka-open. But at least nakikita ko si Nicole dito na kahit meron ako nakikitang response. Okay, so let's begin. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes po.
Yes po,
Yes
Doc.
po.
There is the first slide on female physiology. The topic on female physiology is divided into two. Simply because the female reproductive years is concerned with two major phases in a woman's life. From the start of menarche, yung kung kailan siya nagsimula mag-mens until tumigil yung menstruation niya, which we call menopause, there are two aspects or phases where female physiology is concerned. Number one is the preparation for pregnancy, and number two is the pregnancy itself. And towards the end of this lecture, you will realize that when I say the preparation for pregnancy, I'm talking about the monthly menstrual cycle. So, ganun, yun lang daw ang purpose ng female physiology, no? So, prepare every month to become pregnant. If pregnancy intervenes, then of course, the woman will become pregnant for around 10 months. Then ganun ulit until matapos na yung reproductive years na yun by a period which we call menopause. Okay, so this is my short outline. I was informed by the other sections that last semester in anatomy and micro HSB, you had already your lecture in the female genital tract as well as, am I correct? Nagkaroon na pag sinabi kong vagina, alam nyo na yun, fallopian tubes, ovaries. In micro HSB, the follicles in different stages of maturation were already discussed. So mainly our discussion this morning will be all about the physiology of menstruation and the hormones involved in this physiology. So this is my outline, but at the end of the lecture, towards the end, at the end of the lecture, and I hopefully towards the end of the day, if you will try to reflect on what we will be having for the next 2 hours, I hope you would be able to answer the following questions. Kindly differentiate what's the two meiotic division. Of course, i-discuss ko naman to sa inyo. And I would like to tell you that most of the time, normally in one menstrual cycle, only one follicle, despite the many follicles that have been recruited, in day one of the menses, only one follicle will become dominant actually. Wag na muna tayo magtanungan with regard to twins, no? Pag-uusapan natin yan when you reach third year. In a normal menstrual cycle, normally, only one follicle becomes dominant. Why only one? I hope you will learn that in this lecture. And sabi ko nga, towards the end of the day, you can tell yourself, alam ko na, I know why only one follicle becomes dominant. Describe when does ovulation occur with regard to day 1 of menstruation. And number 4, tell yourself why progesterone only becomes dominant, or why is it the dominant hormone during the luteal phase. No, we'll go back to this slide again later after we have finished the discussion. So anytime you have a question or you want to raise something, unmute yourself. Doc, wait lang. Then, kung may question, ganun na rin. Huwag na sa chat para hindi na ako mahirapan magbasa. Okay, as a review, any structures that you see from the mons pubis down to the perineal body will be the external female genitalia. The vagina, please remember, although you cannot see it on your own, is part of the external generative structures. Inside, we have many internal structures, but I just would like to mention 3. The uterus, the fallopian tubes, and the ovaries. You are all familiar with the uterus and the cervix. Please remember that cervix is part of the uterus. Okay, you are aware or you are familiar with the parts, but I just would like to probably emphasize the layer of the endometrium, the layer that is sloughed off during the period of menstruation. It is also the layer that recovers after menstruation. So ito na lang muna ang pag-usapan natin. So there are 2 fallopian tubes on each side of the uterus. Familiar naman na kayo sa mga parts. I just would like to tell you that the fertilization occurs in the ampulla. So whenever the ovum is ovulated, it goes inside. If the sperm is deposited in the vagina, it goes there. Then the fertilization usually occurs in the ampulla of the fallopian tube. But I would like to emphasize these finger-like structures that you are seeing here. This is called the fimbria. The most important function of which is for ovum pickup. Meaning, during the period of ovulation, when the cumulus oophorus zona pellucida oocyte complex is extruded from the ovary, wala namang mata yung complex na yun, no? Hindi nila alam kung saan papasok. So what guides the oocyte towards the inside of the fallopian tube? These are the fimbrial ends of the fallopian tube. And again, the most important function is ovum pickup. When that function is impaired, one example of a situation which will destroy the fimbrial ends are sexually transmitted diseases. Then that ovum pickup can no longer happen. So what would be the consequence? Pag yung mga babae, merong mga STDs, which could probably destroy the fimbrial ends. Then the ovum may not be able to enter the fallopian tube. And if that happens, there's nothing to mate there with the sperm. So one consequence is inability to get pregnant or infertility. Later I have a video that will show you the important function of these fimbrial ends. And what you can see here is an ovary, again containing follicles in different stages of maturation. Please remember again that yun lang muna emphasize natin this morning. In one cycle, only one follicle becomes mature and dominant. And that dominant follicle, isa lang siya, is the one which will ovulate. Okay? What structure is in the ovary after ovulation?
Corpus luteum po.
After ovulation, what you have there is the corpus luteum. And the structure or the corpus luteum again will be the one to secrete both progesterone as well as estrogen. Okay? And towards the end of the cycle, if there is no pregnancy, you very well know that the corpus luteum will degenerate to become the corpus albicans. Okay? This is another picture showing you the ovary with follicles in different stages of maturation. Again, the terminology that we use will depend on kung gaano kalaki yung follicles. So it starts with the primary one. It starts with the pinaka-baby dyan, primordial. Then as the layer of the granulosa cells increases, then it becomes primary, preantral, antral. Sa antral, meron na siyang antrum, meaning the The granulosa cells are already producing hormones there. And of course, this is the picture of a mature dominant follicle. This is what I was telling you a while ago. This cumulus ovule zona pellucida oocyte complex is extruded during the period of ovulation. So prior to ovulation, we have the whole structure, but without the oocyte, then we just call it the corpus luteum. One question before I proceed: what hormones do the granulosa cells secrete?
Estrogen po.
Eh, sino nagsisecrete ng progesterone? What hormones do the granulosa cells secrete?
Estrogen and progesterone.
Okay, Louis, you are correct, but you have to qualify it. And the way to qualify it is, Doc, it will depend on the cycle. So the granulosa cells can produce both, but the granulosa cells only produce estrogen during the follicular phase. But however, during the luteal phase, and you will learn this later, both progesterone and estrogen can now be produced by the granulosa cells. So the question there, one of their ILOs there, why can the granulosa cells produce progesterone during the luteal phase? We will learn that later. Regardless of the cycle, ibig sabihin ng regardless, whether nandun ka sa follicular or nasa luteal phase ka, the theca cells will just produce androgens. And from, I don't know, from micro HSP or probably biochemistry, may topic ng hormones sa biochem, di ba? I hope you already know that the theca cells are all responsive to LH. Thereby, they are secreting androgens, while the granulosa cells, depending again on the cycle, can either respond to FSH to release progesterone, to release estrogen, or during the luteal phase to respond now to LH to release progesterone. Okay? So another picture of the mature dominant follicle. Before I proceed, let me define or review to you terminologies that you are already familiar with. When you produce cells, daughter cells of the same chromosomal makeup with that of the parent cell, you call it mitosis. So multiplication process, ang tawag natin mitosis. You are familiar with the phases, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. No? So pag nagmumultiply ka ng number of cells, ang tawag doon mitosis. But this is different from meiosis because meiosis is a reduction division. Meiosis happens in the sex chromosomes, yung nasa oocyte at saka yung nasa spermatocyte, simply because during the period of fertilization, the haploid organism, the ovum, and the haploid sperm, when they recombine, dapat ang maproduce mo is a diploid zygote. Therefore, meiosis should occur in this sex chromosome so that during the para do sa process of fertilization, you will still produce a normal individual. Imagine mo na lang kung walang meiotic division, hindi sila nahati sa gitna. Pag nag-meet sila, sperm and oocyte, 46XX, 46, whatever is the chromosomal makeup of the sperm, di ano yun, abnormal. No? Anything that is beyond 46 chromosome is not a normal organism. So, kailangan ng meiotic division, and this happens in the sex chromosomes. And I would like to tell you that there are two meiotic divisions are required for us to produce a mature oocyte or a mature spermatocyte. And the same phases that you already know in mitosis are also the same phases that present in meiosis, whether it's meiosis 1 or meiosis 2. So you can see in this screen the different phases. 1, of course, represents the first meiotic division and 2 represents the second meiotic division. Ang gusto ko lang tandaan nyo dito sa meiosis 1 is yung diplotin stage. Then sa meiosis 2, kindly remember metaphase 2. And you will realize later why I am asking you to remember those terms. So let's proceed to the ovarian chronology development. It is said that the genetic sex, either 46XX or 46XY, ang anak mo ba lalaki or babae, this is already determined on fertilization. I hope you already know that the oocyte is always 23X. And the sperm is either 23X or 23Y. So if you are to be asked, what imparts gender? Is it the oocyte or the sperm? It is the sperm. So kung ano yung quality, kung ano yung makeup ng sperm na pumasok dun sa oocyte, that will determine the gender. So since we are talking here about female physiology, then let us presume that this sperm here is 23X also, thus producing a germ cell that is 46XX female. All right, listen to me. In pregnancy, so the mother is pregnant, definitely inside her uterus is the embryo. And that embryo there is 46XX. Diba? Kasi nung nag-fertilize, 23X, 23X. During the 3rd to the 6th month of pregnancy, this is around 12 to 24 weeks, the germ cell, single lang yun, will migrate into the genital ridge and undergo multiplication division, producing 7 million oogonia. So yung baby na yon, yung embryo na yon, 26XX siya. Pagdating ng 3rd to the 6th months of pregnancy, dadami sila through the process of mitosis, producing 7 million oogonia. Once the 7 million oogonia are produced, each oogonium now enters the first meiotic division. However, only to be suspended in the diplotin stage of prophase 1. So dun sa loob ng ovaries ng baby na yon na magiging babae paglabas niya, babae na pala siya, eventually babae paglabas. So ovaries niya, mayroong single germ cell that 46XX, 3 to 6 months, dadami sila into 7 million. Once the 7 million are produced, each oogonium enters the first meiotic division. However, it will stop at the stage of diplotin stage, prophase 1. This suspension is carried out until birth. The first meiotic division will only resume when that child who is a girl becomes an adolescent and enters puberty. Did you get what I said? So Nicole, halimbawa nakakita ka ng isang baby dyan sa bahay nyo or sa kapitbahay nyo, baby na babae, pwede mong sabihan yung nanay niya, Mami, alam or tita or ate, alam mo ba yung anak mo na babae dyan? Meron niyang 2 million oogonia sa mga ovaries niya. And all those 2 million oogonia are suspended in the diplotin stage of prophase. You can say that. Okay, pag tinanong ka, ano po ibig sabihin nun, Doc? Basta, pinapractice ko lang. Kasi sabi nila, when you teach, you learn. Okay? So, suspended, kailan lang nagre-resume puberty? Listen to me. When the child, who is a girl, enters puberty, sabi ko magre-resume na yung first meiotic division, and you can see that at puberty there are only 400,000 oocytes. Please remember or please learn that not all those 400,000 oocytes will simultaneously finish the first meiotic division. Hindi ganon. When the girl or when the child or when the woman enters puberty, doon na papasok yung monthly menstrual cycle, syempre magme-mens na siya. And as I have told you from the very beginning, in each cycle, only one follicle will become dominant. And that dominant follicle is the one destined to ovulate. Meaning, only that follicle is the one that is capable of finishing the first meiotic division. So pag tungtong nila ng puberty, magre-resume nga yung first meiotic division, pero pa-isa-isa, every month, ang makakatapos ng first meiotic division, the chosen one. Okay? So Nicole, again, pwede mo tignan yung puson mo, yung lower area ng iyong tummy, where you can probably, hindi mo mararamdaman, hindi mo yun makakapa. Isipin mo lang yung ovaries mo, sabihin mo, hey, probably you have less than 400,000 oocytes there. Okay? Pasensya na doon sa mga ibang hindi pa nagre-resume ng meiosis 1, no? Pa-isa-isa lang muna every month. So you can probably have their oocytes who are still suspended, which are still suspended in the first meiotic division. And just to probably fast forward this statement, those women, there are some women who would reach menopause. Ibig sabihin, titigil na yung reproductive function nila na meron pang mga oocytes na which are still suspended. Hindi man lang nakaprogress, no? Yung mga sinamang palad, suspended still. So please remember na yung meiosis, the first meiotic division will only be undertaken, or will only be completed by the follicle that is destined to become dominant and ovulated in each cycle. Eyes on the screen, you can see that we started with 7 million reserves. At birth, 2 million na lang. Come puberty, you only have 400,000. Okay, so probably the reason behind this is your system is destroying the oogonia, or the oogonium, which are not very nice in with regard to quality. So mag-produce ka ng 7 million, as you progress through development, lahat ng mga hindi tamang oogonium tinatanggal. So in other cells, we call it programmed cell death apoptosis, but in OB or in gynecology, we call it atresia. However, wag mong panginayangan, because in your whole lifetime, you probably will only ovulate 400 oocytes. Hindi mo nga mapa-fertilize lahat ng nakakita ka na ba ng ilan? Meron siyang anak. Ilan yung anak niya? 400. No, hindi posible yun. Okay? Siguro maximum na nakikita natin, lalong-lalo na sa mga ibang culture, or yung mga nakaraang mga lolo-lola natin, nagkakanak sila ng mga 7, 8, 10. Pero hindi naman siguro may lumagpas ng 20. No? And more importantly, wala namang naging grabe na 400. Marios. So in your lifetime, you can ovulate 400. So wag mong panghinayangan yung mga nasisira. Alright, so just to summarize again what I have said. Again, meiosis 1 will only resume in puberty, but please remember, only the one that will be ovulated will be able to finish the first meiotic division. Once the first meiotic division is completed, then we already call it a secondary oocyte. It immediately enters metaphase 2. So bago pa siya ilabas, nag-dop na ano pa lang siya, mag-ovulate pa lang, that follicle will complete the first meiotic division. It's called a secondary oocyte. Even before it is ovulated, it will immediately enter metaphase 2. Okay, so when it enters the fallopian tube, it is already in the second meiotic division, metaphase 2. The second meiotic division will only be completed by fertilization. So what completes the first meiotic division? It is completed by the follicle that is considered dominant, or that the follicle that is bound to ovulate. What completes the second meiotic division? It is completed by fertilization. So Nicole, if you are to ask me, Doc, hindi naman po ako na-fertilize every month. So ano pong nangyayari sa secondary oocyte ko na pumasok sa fallopian tube ko na wala namang fertilization? Then that oocyte, secondary oocyte, remains suspended at metaphase. Saan po siya mapupunta? Di sasama na rin siya. Papasok kasi yun sa uterus Eventually makakarating sa uterus. No implantation at first because there's no pregnancy, and it will be thrown out together with your menstrual blood. So girls, pag nakikita kayo, no, day 1 of menstruation means that's the first time you saw the red color, whether it's a spot or it's a bleeding, that's day 1. Pag nakita, hindi nyo naman syempre makikita doon yung oocyte. No, pero pwede yung sabihin, bye-bye, pasensya na, hindi ka man lang na-complete. Darating yung panahon, mako-complete din tayo. So during menstruation, you are throwing a secondary oocyte into your menstrual blood suspended at metaphase 2. All right, what completes the second meiotic division? Fertilization. Okay, let's proceed. This is just a diagram showing you the 2 meiotic divisions are necessary for a mature oocyte to be mature, and for the spermatocytes. And this is a diagram showing you that the dominant follicle, even before ovulation, finishes the first meiotic division, enters immediately metaphase 2, and it will only be completed by fertilization. If there is none, then the egg remains at metaphase 2, thrown into the menstrual blood. Do you have questions? Or if that is clear, interrupt me anytime. It's okay with me. So tuloy-tuloy lang ako kasi baka abuti tayo ng 12. Okay? So let us now go to the hormones. In the same manner that the growth hormone or probably thyroid hormones, ACTH this morning was discussed to you. Merong ding tinatawag na endocrine axis ang female physiology. That's what we call the HPO axis. So hypo, pituitary, ovarian axis. And in the same manner that this previous weeks, you discussed negative, positive feedback. Ganun din naman dito. So meaning, kung mataas na ang level ng estrogen and progesterone, it will create a negative feedback to the higher centers. The opposite would be the same. Okay? But one example that you kept on saying when we were discussing the basics of endocrinology to sa SGD, one example daw ng positive feedback is when the estrogen level is very, very high. So pag masyado na siyang mataas, I will mention the level later, then it is not inhibitory, it becomes stimulatory, thereby exhibiting a positive feedback effect. Before we go to the main story, which is the mas exciting, yung menstrual cycle, let me just briefly define to you or mention to you the roles of the following hormones. So GnRH is secreted in the hypothalamus. And when secreted properly, it can stimulate the anterior pit to release the gonadotropins. Proper release or correct release of the GnRH is said to be a pulsatile manner. Meaning, hindi pwedeng dire-diretso, hindi pwedeng continuous. Kasi pag continuous daw ang release ng GnRH from the hypothalamus, it is inhibitory. So para siya maging stimulatory, releasing hormone to the gonadotropins, it should be released in pulses. Parang 1 pulse per hour or 1 pulse per 2 hours, depending on the frequency and the amplitude. You will learn that in gynecology. The GnRH can either prefer releasing either FSH or LH. But please remember, it should be in pulses. So if it is released in a correct manner, then it can stimulate the release of gonadotropins, FSH as well as LH. So common sense naman, no? Alam nyo, ang learning daw is building schema or building, parang accumulating building blocks in your brain. So the schema or the building blocks, alam nyo na that FSH and LH are anterior pituitary gland hormones because it was already discussed during the first few weeks when you are having endocrinology. But now you have to probably add to your knowledge that FSH, LH, TSH as well as HCG are hormones which share the same alpha subunit. So ibig sabihin nun, parang there is a point there in those hormones na parang magkakamuka. Therefore, receptors can actually recognize or pwede silang for example, receptors in the ovary can recognize HCG, hindi naman pala LH yun, pero HCG pala, pwedeng magkaroon ng interaction with regard to function. That is why when you are testing for laboratory levels, we tend to measure the beta subunit, not the alpha, para walang cross-interaction. Ang pregnancy test, when you do it, bakit bang nakalagay sa kit beta HCG, not alpha? Kasi nga, kung alpha ang i-measure mo, then there could be cross-interaction and you might come up with a not so accurate result. So please remember, yung apat na yan, pare-pareho ng alpha, magkakaiba ng beta subunit. Next week, I am not the lecturer in pregnancy, but I hope you will try to remember this slide and apply it to the knowledge that you will get next week. And what would be that, in what context should you remember this slide? Listen to me. During pregnancy, the luteinizing hormone is down because it is being negatively inhibited by progesterone and estrogen. But during pregnancy, the placenta will release human chorionic gonadotropin or HCG. And the function of HCG is to rescue the corpus luteum. Now, please remember this. The corpus luteum, it's there because of the luteinizing hormone. Why is it that during pregnancy, it now becomes a function of the human chorionic gonadotropin? Then the answer there is, kaya ng HCG i-rest yung corpus luteum, which is originally a function of LH, it's because magkamukha sila. So yung ovary, akala niya sa HCG, LH pa rin. And it can be rescued by the HCG. Another thing that probably you will learn in pregnancy is this. During pregnancy, the maternal T4 level increases. Tumataas yung thyroid production ng mother. And the purpose of this is to transfer the thyroid hormones to the baby. What is stimulating the maternal thyroid to increase her thyroid production? It is not TSH. It is again the HCG. So why can the thyroid gland recognize HCG and probably mistake it as TSH? Pareho kasi sila ng alpha subunit. Okay, so these four, please remember they share the same alpha subunit. Let's go now to the functions. Dalawang slide lang. From the word itself, follicular stimulating hormone, FSH is responsible for the growth of the follicles. So from being a baby, primordial, it becomes preantral and so on because of the follicular stimulating hormone. Follicular stimulating hormone also stimulates the granulosa cells to produce estrogen, and the production of FSH as well as LH receptors is also a function of FSH. Yun lang. LH na tayo kaagad. Diba? Ang cycle naman is follicular, luteal, o luteal phase na kaagad. To demarcate the two the two phases, the follicular and the luteal, there should be ovulation in between. Please remember that ovulation is a function of LH. Meaning if there is no LH, ovulation will not occur. Later on, you will realize towards the end of this lecture that although FSH is the one responsible for follicular development, the final development of the mature dominant follicle may kasama ng LH doon, no? So it contributes to the final development of the LH contributes to the final development of the mature Graafian follicle. And since LH is the one responsible for ovulation, it is common sense that the corpus luteum, which is the product of ovulation, is primarily dependent on LH. Kaya nga pag luteal phase na, the granulosa cells, through the effect of LH, may now be able to produce both progesterone and estrogen. All right, let us now proceed. Any questions so far? All right, if there are none, ito na yung exciting part, no? Bakit kayo nire-regla? Buwan-buwan. Okay, what explains your monthly menstrual cycle? It is said that the normal reproductive years of a woman, pinag-uusapan natin dito, normal. Gawin natin abnormal, third year. Pag third year na kayo. So whenever you learn something, you always begin with what is normal. Kaya nga ang physiology na sa first year. It is said that the normal reproductive years of a woman is characterized by fluctuation in her hormonal secretion. Minsan mataas, biglang bababa, tataas ulit, bababa ulit. And this fluctuation in her hormonal secretion creates changes in her ovaries as well as in her endometrium. Okay, so this rhythmical changes pattern occurring every month is what we call the monthly menstrual cycle. What is the normal interval? 28 plus minus 7 days. No woman is menstruating religiously every 28 days. Ang ibig kong sabihin dito, Nicole, walang isa sa inyong pwedeng magsabi na, Doc, dumating yung mens ko, day 1 ko, March 1. I am sure that I will have my second period, next period by March 29. That would be exactly 28 days. Hindi, walang ganun, Mars. No? Pwede mong masabihin that towards the end of March, probably magkaroon ako or probably towards the first week of April, but you may not be able to predict when will be your day. Tama ba ako? Hindi ko kayang patunayan kasi hindi ko naman naranasan. No? Gustuhin ko man, pero ayaw ko na rin. Di ba? Hindi nyo na predict. No? May range. But the point is, when you remember normal value 28 plus minus 7 days, it means that if you are menstruating every 21 days or every 35 days maximum, normal yan. Kaya may mga pasyente or may mga babae na magme-mens sa first week of the month, then it should stop for after 5 days, then magkakaroon na naman sila ng period towards the end of the month. That's normal as long as it is within 21 days. More frequent than that is abnormal, it's called polymenorrhea, and anything that is less frequent than every 35 is called oligomenorrhea. Okay, so this is the normal interval. And as I have said, two changes are occurring both in the ovaries as well as endometrium. Therefore, two cycles are occurring simultaneously in one monthly cycle, and those are the ovarian as well as the endometrial cycle. Okay, so ito yung main bulk ng ating discussion within the morning. And from this point onwards, we will be concentrating in this type of diagram. So shown before you sa taas, yung fluctuations in hormonal production, middle ovarian changes, bottom endometrial changes. Let's use a 28-day cycle just to make the discussion simple. Okay, so in a 28-day cycle, the mid portion is day 14, and that would be the period of ovulation. All right. Ovarian cycle prior to ovulation is what we call the follicular phase, simply because it involves follicular growth and development, and choosing the period where the dominant follicle will be chosen. Sabi ko nga, in one cycle, isa lang dyan ang lalaki. After ovulation, of course, you have the luteal phase. Bottom, sa endometrium naman, prior to ovulation, we call it proliferative. After ovulation, we call it secretory. Please remember that you are menstruating because you have normal production of FSH and LH. Meaning, if the anterior pituitary gland will not secrete FSH or LH, or in the same manner that even if the anterior pituitary gland is secreting it, pero abnormal naman yung pattern, it's either hindi kayo magregla or maging abnormal yung menstruation nyo. So if you are to ask me, Doc, bakit yung mga batang babae, like yung mga 4-year-old, 5-year-old, babae naman sila, meron naman silang puwerta, may uterus, ovaries naman sila, because they are normal female individuals, why are they not menstruating? Bakit kailangan umabot pa ng adolescent bago sila mag-menstruate? It is simply because children do not yet produce or do not yet release FSH and LH. Yun lang naman ang isang paliwanag doon. And there are so many theories why children do not produce FSH and LH, but do not produce FSH and LH, but I think this is the more plausible, biologically plausible explanation. Meron daw pulse generators sa hypothalamus. Ano ba yung generator? Di ba? Whenever you have walang kuryente, you open the generator, magkakaroon ng kuryente. So there is a generator in the hypothalamus that is turned off when the child is still a child, and is turned on when she assumes puberty. So GABA turns off the generator, and the other three substances, glutamate, cis-15, as well as leptin, turns it on. So probably in children, GABA is predominant. However, when they are already entering adolescent, then the following substances become predominant. Do you know what leptin is? What part of the body do you usually find leptin? Or is it associated with?
Adipose tissue.
Mataba. No? So, ibig sabihin, pag yung babae o yung bata mataba, madami siyang leptin. And this explains why yung mga bata, babae na matataba, maaga silang mag-mens. And if you will be asked, Doc, bakit sabi nito, Nicole, yung pamangkin mo, 10 years old pa lang niregla na, hindi ba masyadong maaga yun? So explanation ni Nicole, ate, ang taba naman kasi ng pamangkin ko, napakataba. Natutunan ko this morning na pag marami kang taba, marami kang leptin, baka na-on na agad yung pulse generator niya. So when the GnRH pulses are secreted, normally, then pwede niyang ma-stimulate yung anterior pituitary to secrete FSH and LH. And when that happens, yun na, magsisimula na yung menstrual cycle. Okay? So in the next few slides, I will now, this is where we are now. I am going to discuss the ovarian cycle, then the endometrial cycle. Then I will summarize the whole physiology of menstruation. If we have time, probably we can have a very short break, like 5 minutes. For you probably to rest, for me to rest, for you to gather your thoughts. If you have any questions, you tell me. Pero hopefully we can have a break. Okay, so I will now discuss to you the ovarian cycle, and let me now begin with the follicular phase. In the follicular phase, what I will try to explain here is this. Why is it that only one follicle becomes dominant? No? So that's the major problem that we are going to solve in this next few, or probably 10 slides. Okay, bakit ba pag follicular, ang dami-daming mare-recruit na follicles, isa lang yung magiging dominant? Okay, so at birth, kanina sinabi ni Nicole sa batang nakita niya, merong 2 million oogonia suspended in the diploid stage. So yung follicle din, yung pinaka-babying follicle din na meron, that's what we call the primordial follicle. Isang layer lang siya ng granulosa cells. Okay? So when the baby now enters adolescence, since magsisimula nang tumaas yung FSH, LH, kasi na-open na yung pulse generator, then the follicle will also start to grow from primordial to become primary, and then to become preantral follicles. Please remember that the growth of primordial to primary to preantral is non-gonadotropin dependent. Ibig sabihin, even without the influence of FSH, kahit pa-inhibited ang FSH, halimbawa pregnancy, pag pregnant ang isang pasyente, mataas ang secretion niya ng estrogen, progesterone coming from the placenta. If you are to analyze it, negative feedback agad dun sa anterior pituitary, mababa ang FSH niya. Okay? In that case, dun ba sa ovaries ng buntis na yon, walang growth na nangyayari sa mga follicles? Meron. Primordial, but only up to the level of preantral. Okay? So this is non-gonadotropin dependent. However, para yan lumaki, yung preantral, mag-progress, di ba? Ang purpose naman natin dito is to develop the follicles. Kailangan natin ng FSH. Fortunately, day 1 of menstruation, day 1, FSH level is high. And the purpose of FSH in day 1 is to recruit 12, let's be specific with number, wala nang range para wala nang malibutan. Around 12 preantral follicles to continue to grow, and soon they will become antral follicles. So these follicles now have anthroms, so they will now be starting to secrete estrogen. Okay? So day 1, mataas ang FSH. The purpose is to recruit preantral para maging antral. So those 12s will now begin to grow and secrete estrogen. Nicole, can I ask a favor?
Yes po, Doc.
Later, towards the end, of course, on my cue, can you please ask me this question? Doc, why is FSH elevated in day 1?
Okay po, Doctor.
Ulitin mo. Sabihin mo para alam kong tama yung ating drama mamaya.
Why is it the FSH levels po is elevated po in day 1 of menstruation?
Okay, I will ask you later. So just believe me now that FSH is elevated in day 1, and this is the purpose, to recruit preantral follicles to become antral follicles. And you can see the diagram eyes on the screen that as the preantral, now antral follicles are growing, they will now secrete estrogen. No? Mababa lang, hindi ganun kataasan. Modest increase in estrogen. And because of that, elevated level of FSH in day 1, FSH is expected to decline because of negative feedback. Are you okay with this drawing? Tama, di ba? tumataas yung estrogen because of negative feedback, bumabagsak naman yung FSH. What recruited the follicles? FSH. However, the follicles that are growing are secreting estrogen that it's inhibiting the anterior pituitary, leading to the decline of FSH. But there is another substance inhibiting FSH here. Ang tawag nila is inhibin A. Baka lang kasi bigla nyo, inhibin B, sorry. Inhibin B. Baka lang kasi biglang may lumabas sa book or mabasa nyo. So, estrogen, modest increase in estrogen from the growing follicles and inhibin B are inhibiting the anterior pituitary. That's why FSH is falling down. So probably, I hope at this point, there is a question at the back of your mind asking, if FSH is going down, what will happen to the growing follicles? The FSH is elevated in day 1. It recruited preantral follicles. The preantral follicles are growing because of FSH. But because of the secretion from the growing follicles, estrogen as well as inhibin B, FSH is going down. So what will happen to the follicles? They will stop growing, except for one, the follicle that is bound to become dominant. Why can it continuously grow even if the follicular stimulating hormone is going down? It's because of this characteristic, which is only present in this follicle, not present in the other 11. Marami siyang FSH receptors. So even if pababa na yung FSH level, sa dami ng FSH receptors niya, it keeps on responding and it keeps on growing. And there seems to be a positive feedback effect occurring on itself kasi FSH receptors, marami, it keeps responding to the FSH, the granulosa cells keeps on producing estrogen, and the estrogen itself stimulates again the granulosa cells to produce more FSH receptors together with FSH. Meron siyang positive feedback. So these characteristics are only present in that follicle that is bound to become dominant. Of course, if the follicle will continuously grow and produce estrogen, then there will be production of luteinizing hormone receptors. And when the LH receptors are already present, the Untica cells naman dyan ang mag-grow, contributing to the production of androgens. These things are not seen in the other 11 follicles. So what is the outcome? Obvious. The other follicles will degenerate because of the falling level of FSH, allowing only one to become mature and dominant. Have we answered the question why only one follicle becomes dominant? Yes. And the very simple answers are, kakaiba kasi siya. No? Dun sa 12, siya ang number 1. Is this clear? All right, let me just share with you a very quick story because this question was really valid and I just cannot forget it. It happened several years ago. Pero hindi ko na matandaan because I think the question was valid. And the question was like, Doc, why did you recruit round follicles? Tapos isa lang pala yung pwedeng maging mature. Parang sa kanya, ewan ko kung meron siyang pinagdadaanan. Tawag natin doon, di ba? May mga tawag kayo minsan mga hugot. No? Para kasi daw yung 11, parang in-invite mo, pinaasa mo, pero bigla mong iniwanan sa ere. Parang, pinanggagalingan ka ba ba? Okay. Sabi ko sa kanya, unang-una, hindi ako nag-recruit, huwag mo kong sisihin. Kasi the way yung question, bakit ka nag-recruit? Kali ko po yun, gusto ko mag-miss, hindi ako nag-miss, ako pagbibintaan mo pa ako sa recruitment. Na joke lang. What's the reason behind recruiting several follicles and only coming up with one follicle? It is because you want to choose the best among the cohort. Papaano? Let's just imagine this, although it's not happening. What if you are only, tingin lahat sa akin, what if this is the case? You are only recruiting one follicle each month. One preantral follicle lang ang kukunin mo para maging antral. Yung nakuha mo pala a follicle that is not so good. So you lose that month, that opportunity na makapag-ovulate na magandang follicle to come up with a better, with the best, with a good baby. No? So that's probably the reason why you recruit several. Manghinayang ka pa ba naman sa 12 per month? Eh, ilan ba meron kayo to begin with? 7 million, 2 million, 400,000, 400. Hindi mo naman lahat yun ma-fertilize. So probably that's the reason why you get several so that you can have the option to choose the best. Bakit ba pag merong mga contest, nagpapa-audition ka ng napakaraming auditioning tapos you get several contestants? Diba? Parang gusto mo kasi makita yung pinakamaganda dun. Siguro probably that's also the reason. This choosing of the best follicle starts from the moment you entered menarche. So ibig sabihin, if you had your first menstruation at the age of 15, you have been throwing good follicles for the last 10 years. Ilang taon na ba kayo? 25, di ba? Sorry, 20 lang ba kayo? 20? Ilang taon nga ba ang...
22 po, Doc.
So kung nag-mens kayo ng 12 years old o 22, you have been losing good follicles for the last 10 years. Kasi di ba pumapasok siya sa fallopian tube nyo and metaphase, tinatapon mo din sa mens. Every month yun nangyayari. That is why when you reach the age of 35, there is a very steep swing, upswing of the probability of having a baby with congenital anomaly. Kasi siguro yung last 20 years na hindi ka na, tapos nagbuntis ka lang after age of 35, tinapon mo na lahat ng mga good follicles. Did you get my point? I'm not telling you, pagkatapos ng lecture na to, kailangan natin magkita. Sasabihin, hindi ko sinasabi magbuntis kayo, no? Masumbong pa ako. But that's the point. You have already been throwing it probably in your menstruation. If you see yourself as someone who will be having a family soon, huwag naman umabot ng 35. Diba? Tapos na naman tayo ng medicine at the age of 25. Usual process or pathway is board exam, residency. Siguro doon pa lang pwede na simulan nyo na. No? Always remember this day, yung follicle na nawawala. Kaya rin nauuso, alam ko may magtatanong, kaya rin nauuso na ngayon yung mga cryopreservation. If you think, ay ako hindi do, mag-aasawa lang ako at magkakaroon lang ako ng anak pag meron na akong magandang status sa buhay. Which among doctors, usually happens beyond the age of 30. Okay? Kaya nauuso yung mga cryopreservation, meaning kinukuha na nila yung mga magagandang quality eggs, pinipreserve, so that when you are already ready, at least yung mape-fertilize mo pa rin na oocyte is a good quality. Okay? So that's because of this process. Alright, so I think I have already explained clearly why in one cycle only one follicle becomes dominant. Twin gestation, wait for some years. You will learn that. Okay? So after that is ovulation as a gitna. Ovulation, this is one of the ILOs. Please remember, occurs before the onset of the next menstruation. Hindi nyo kailangan buksan yung mga microphones nyo, no? But can we all read this statement? Ovulation occurs 14 days before the onset of menstruation. Saying it this way, ovulation occurs 14 days after the onset of the next menstruation is different, and it is not correct. Did you get it? O medical student kayo, ayoko kayong turing na para mga bata, para ulit-ulitin lang ang mga sinasabi ko. For example, if today is day 1 of my mens, allow me to mens kahit yun lang. If today is day 1 of my mens, I cannot tell you that I will ovulate 14 days from now. If today is day 1 of my mens, I can tell you that I ovulated 14 days ago. All right? The reason behind is due to the lifespan of the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum, once it is produced, definitely after ovulation, only survives for 14 days. Ibig sabihin, tingin sa akin, nag-ovulate ka ngayon, you have the corpus luteum now. Yung corpus luteum na yun, magtatagal lang for 2 weeks. Therefore, after 2 weeks, because of the changes in the hormonal pattern, magme-menstruate ka after the 14th day. Kaya yung luteal phase, definite, 14 days. But the follicular phase varies. Yun yung nagbibigay ng variation sa interval ng menstruation mo. So for example, if you are menstruating every 28 days, walang problema. You have a follicular phase that is 14 days, you have a luteal phase that is 14. However, if your cycle is, for example, 30 days, ibig sabihin nun, your luteal phase is 14, your follicular phase is 16. Therefore, if today is your day 1 at nagbabari yung follicular, hindi mo malalaman kung kailan ka mag-ovulate. Yun lang naman yung objective thing na nakikita mo. Unang-una, hindi mo mararamdamang nag-ovulate ka. Meron tinatawag na Mittel's merge pain. Ibig sabihin yung parang biglang hypogastric pain na naramdaman mo brought about by ovulation, but not all women would experience that. So, ibig sabihin, hindi mo alam na nag-ovulate ka. Ano lang yung objective thing na makikita mo? Yung niregla ka. Yung first day na nagdinugo ka. So, if that happens, you can just go back retrospectively. I ovulated 2 weeks ago. Since hindi mo rin alam kung kailan ka magde-day 1, hindi mo alam kung kailan ka mag-ovulate. You can only presume. During this time, probably high risk ako, I'll be ovulating, no sexual contact. Without protection, otherwise I'll be pregnant. Alright, so please remember ovulation occurs 14 days before the onset of the next mens, or if you are to take day 1 of menstruation as the reference point, if today is your day 1, you ovulated 14 days ago. And what causes ovulation? As I have mentioned a while ago, it's the luteinizing hormone. Once the luteinizing hormone is secreted, or once the peak of the luteinizing hormone secretion is reached, yung tinatawag nating LH surge, in 10 to 12 hours, definitely ovulation will occur. Okay, and what brought about the LH surge? It is brought about by the high level of estrogen, brought about by the dominant follicle. So at this point, eyes on the screen, when the level of estrogen is already high, of course, it's coming from the dominant follicle already kasi yung ibang mga follicles nag-degenerate na, di ba? When it has, according to literature, when it has already reached 200 picograms, 200 picograms, then the effect is reversed. It becomes stimulatory rather than inhibitory. And when that happens, look, there is a sudden secondary increase in FSH, but here the more important release would be the one from LH. So once estradiol peak occurs, LH release occurs, then once the LH surge is reached, ovulation occurs in 10 to 12 hours. Without estradiol peak, there will be no LH secretion. And without LH surge, there is no ovulation. Okay, so that's the process, and I would like to show you a video showing you how ovulation occurs. And here in this video, the only video that I will show you today, nandito yung parang sinasabi ko kaninang ovum pick up function of the fimbrial ends of the fallopian tube. Please watch and listen.
Ovulation is a part of the menstrual cycle when the ovary releases a ripe egg, or ovum. Inside the ovary are hundreds of thousands of follicles. Each follicle is a hollow ball of cells with an immature egg in the center. The typical 28-day menstrual cycle begins on the first day of menstrual bleeding. During the first 7 days of the cycle, a few follicles begin to grow at the same time. These maturing follicles secrete estrogen hormone into the bloodstream to prepare the lining of the uterus for pregnancy. Around day 7, all of the follicles stop growing and begin to degenerate, except for one. This dominant follicle continues to grow and nourishes the developing egg inside it. Around day 12, the follicle secretes a large amount of estrogen into the bloodstream. When the estrogen reaches the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland in the brain, the anterior or front part of the pituitary gland releases a huge surge of luteinizing hormone into the bloodstream. Around day 14, luteinizing hormone causes the follicle to undergo a sudden growth spurt. Right before ovulation, the egg detaches from the inside of the follicle. The bulging follicle releases chemicals, causing one of the two fallopian tubes to move in closer and surround the follicle. The follicle swells until it bursts open, ejecting the egg and fluid from the follicle into the abdominal cavity. In response, the fimbriae, tiny projections at the end of the fallopian tube, sweep across the ovulation site and pick up the egg. Microscopic cilia on the fimbriae's surface transport the egg to the entrance of the fallopian tube. Inside the walls of the fallopian tube, muscular contractions gently push the egg towards the uterus. After ovulation, the egg lives for 12 to 24 hours, so it must be fertilized by a sperm from the male during this time for a woman to become pregnant. If it's not fertilized, the egg dissolves away and is shed along with the uterine lining during menstruation.
All right, I hope, although very simple, no, I hope you appreciate the video kasi nandun talaga lahat yung mga discuss natin first few parts of our lecture. Okay? So after, again, we are, nasa gitna tayo, no? We are entering the luteal phase. Hindi na FSH ang bida dito. It's the LH now, no? After ovulation, or even before ovulation, it's LH. Then during the luteal phase, it's predominantly a function of the luteinizing hormone. And because of LH, the granulosa cells are luteinized. Thereby, they are capable of producing also progesterone. What's the biomolecular explanation? I will explain that later. Okay, so you can see here the production of the cells, and you can see in this diagram that when you have the corpus luteum, the level of progesterone significantly increases together with the level of estrogen. But since the estrogen and progesterone levels are high here, then you again expect a negative feedback to the anterior pituitary, and you can see that there is a sudden decrease in FSH, more importantly, a sudden decline in the luteinizing hormone. So what causes the decline in FSH and LH? The inhibitory effect of both estrogen and progesterone, and a third substance which we now call inhibin A. Kanina, sa follicular phase, bumababa yung FSH because of rising level, modest rise in the level of estrogen, as well as inhibin B. But here in the luteal phase, there's decline of both FSH and LH, mainly coming from estrogen, progesterone, as well as inhibin A. I would like you to focus your attention in this part of the diagram. The second question coming from a student. So the question was like, Doc, if I am to eyeball the level of estrogen prior to LH surge and the level of estrogen in the luteal phase, why is it that the estrogen here is stimulatory and the estrogen there becomes inhibitory? Valid, di ba? Alam mo, sabi, meron akong, I appreciate when students ask question, and that appreciation was affirmed or probably validated when I attended a class 2 days ago, and one of my professors said, when you start asking question, wisdom starts also to pour in. So, ay oo nga, no? Kaya parang when you ask question kasi ibig sabihin, nag-iisip ka, kaya ka may tanong kasi ibig sabihin, gumagana yung, sabi nga ni Senator Miriam, gumagana daw yung neurons mo. No? And when you try to ask question and your question is answered, definitely wisdom will come in. So, I appreciate whenever questions are being asked kasi ibig sabihin nag-iisip kayo. So, going back to that, tama yung question. Bakit dito sa luteal phase, ang taas din naman ng, ng estrogen, bakit inhibitory? Eh here, it's stimulatory. Sabi niya nga, Doc, eyeballing. I don't know if your diagram is correct. But eyeballing, the estrogen in the follicular phase is stimulatory. Why is it inhibitory in the luteal phase? Sabi ko, your question is valid, but this is the answer. Estrogen will only become stimulatory if it is estrogen alone. So if estrogen is very high, 200 picograms pataas, it is stimulatory to the pituitary. However, if it is also accompanied by a high level of progesterone, that stimulatory effect will not exist. Therefore, in the luteal phase, you do not expect a positive feedback, just a negative feedback. Why is the corpus luteum there? It's because of LH. So if the LH level is declining, and you expect the corpus luteum will also regress to become a corpus albicans. And when the corpus albicans is already there, it's an involuted corpus luteum incapable of producing hormones, then you expect the levels of estrogen and more so of progesterone to suddenly decline, and that will now signal the onset of the next cycle. Konti na lang, I will already summarize the physiology of menstruation. Let me just go further and discuss the endometrial cycle. The endometrial cycle also has two phases divided by ovulation middle, proliferative and the secretory. 2 slides lang to. Day 1 of menstruation, follicular phase of the ovarian cycle, proliferative phase of the endometrial cycle. What is the predominant hormone here? Estrogen being secreted by the growing follicles. And the estrogen secreted by the growing follicles will now make the endometrium, which has been denuded by menstruation. Diba? Nag-reglaki, nag-slack off yung endometrium. Because of the estrogen now being secreted by the growing follicle, nagsisimula na namang mag-regenerate yun. Okay, so proliferative phase. That is why when, for example, the day is your day 1, on day 5 or after several days, your menstruation stops. And why did it stop? It's because of the proliferative action brought about by estrogen on that endometrium. Okay? So sabi ko nga minsan sa mga babae, pag yung regla nyo or yung menstruation nyo hindi naman ganun kalakasan, after 3-4 days, tapos na. Pasalamat ka sa estrogen mo. Estrogen, thank you. Kasi, di ba, hindi na ako bibili ng napkin, o kaya pwede na ako mag-swimming, whatever the reason may be. So that's because of estrogen. Proliferative phase. After ovulation, what's predominant is the after ovulation, what's predominant is the corpus luteum. So, ito naman, progesterone phase na. Sabi ko, maiksi lang. So, one of the purposes of progesterone is to oppose the proliferative action of estrogen. Sabi ng progesterone, stop na from proliferating. Further proliferation may lead to abnormal bleeding. It's my time now, and my purpose is not to make the endometrium proliferate. My purpose is to make that endometrium secretory. So that if the ovum that has been released during the process of ovulation is fertilized, then the zygote can implant in an endometrium that has been prepared for possible pregnancy. So the purpose of progesterone in the luteal phase is to prepare the endometrium for the possibility of pregnancy. However, as I have said, kung walang pregnancy, the corpus luteum regresses. The corpus albicans does not release any hormones. The sudden decline of the progesterone there, which actually is supporting the endometrium, is lost. So anong mangyayari dun sa endometrium? Magne-necrose, mag-slack off as the next menstruation. Menses, normally ang value, ang volume daw is 40 ml. Wala naman nagme-mention ng menstruation na. Doc, ang menstruation ko nung nakaraan 25 ml. Patuwang kita, walang ganun na. Walang nagme-measure. But how do you know that the volume is heavy or not? It is said that a normal menstrual blood flow should not be clotted because your menstrual blood contains plasmin or fibrinolysin. What did you learn in blood physiology? Plasmin dissolves the blood. So if you have enough plasmin and the amount of blood is not too much, then the menstruation should not be clotted. However, if you see that your menstruation is clotted, may buo-buo, it means that you are menstruating more than 40 ml. Okay, so I am now ready to summarize the cycle. Are you excited? So again, let me start with ovulation. Mas madali dito going back. Okay, so I hope everybody is listening. Ovulation is brought about by LH surge. LH surge is brought about by the estradiol peak. Okay? The follicle is on the screen that is chosen to be dominant because of reasons that you are already aware. Receptors, positive feedback, no? So that follicle, sasabihin niya siguro, pwedeng sabihin niya sa sa pituitary na, hey, I'm ready to go out because I'm already prepared. So I'm giving you lots of estrogen. So ang sabi naman sa pituitary, all right, the level of estrogen is enough. LH is released. Once LH is released, the LH will now tell the follicle, o sige, kung ready ka na, patunayan mo. Finish the first meiotic division. Okay, I will finish it now. So it will now complete the first meiotic division and become a secondary oocyte and immediately enters metaphase 2. Once the surge is reached, ovulation occurs. What is inside the follicle, the ovary? The corpus luteum. So the corpus luteum now will release estrogen, more progesterone. And the purpose of the progesterone here is to prepare that proliferative endometrium to become secretory so that after a week, if that ovum is fertilized, then the zygote can implant in an endometrium that is prepared for pregnancy. However, if there is no pregnancy, the high levels of progesterone, estrogen, and inhibin A will now inhibit the pituitary, and the luteinizing hormone will continuously decline. Without LH, the corpus luteum dies. Corpus albicans cannot secrete estrogen and progesterone. Therefore, towards the end of the cycle, you expect the level of progesterone and estrogen to go down. And the sudden withdrawal of progesterone mainly, which is the support of the secretory endometrium, will now pave the way for the next cycle. So you can just imagine that day 28, kinabukasan magme-mens na siya, yung level ng estrogen at saka progesterone doon, mababa na. Okay? So we go now to day 1. Nicole, what's your question?
Doc, why is FSH levels elevated on day 1 of menstruation?
It's elevated because yung previous cycle, bumagsak yung ovarian hormones. So the absence of negative feedback is stimulatory sa taas. Tataas ngayon yung FSH. So what's the purpose of FSH elevation on day 1? To recruit again 12 pre-antral follicles so that they become antral, and the antral follicles will now grow and secrete estrogen. The estrogen now will make the endometrium proliferate. Until such time, day 7 usually, the follicle that is destined to become ovulate is chosen. And that is allowed to grow alone. The other 11 will degenerate. Until again, it's on the na mataas na estrogen, LH surge again, ovulation again. And the cycle just continues every month until it is probably interrupted by pregnancy. Or halimbawa, mag-menopause na. Or halimbawa, magloko-loko yung system and nagkaroon ng uh, abnormality in menstruation. I don't know, probably I hope you will remember still the SGDs in endocrinology. Di ba may SGD tayo ng hypopituitarism, may SGD tayo ng thyroid. So why did we discuss abnormal menstruation in those cases? Halimbawa sa thyroid, bakit pag may hypo or hyperthyroid, nagloloko ang menstruation? Eh di ang sagot doon, ito kasi pareho lang ng TSH saka LH-FSH. So anytime na magkaroon ng pagloloko yung TSH, akala siguro ng ovary, nagloloko LH-FH, FSH, nagkakaroon ng abnormal menses. Okay? So ganun lang. Normal, every month, cycle ng cycle, preparing for pregnancy. Kaya nga minsan ang joke namin sa mga kasamahan namin dito na nasa 40 na tapos hindi pa rin nagbubuntis. Katulad nito, pangalanan natin siya, isekreto lang natin si Doktora Magpale. Every month nagme-meds, no? So umiyak na naman yung mattress mo. Di ba when you prepare for something and you don't realize what you have prepared, you cry. So parang yung uterus crying every time there is no pregnancy. Okay, so that is the monthly menstrual cycle. Do you have questions? All right, I promised you a break. And this is now the break. Siguro mga 2 minutes, quick break, quick breathing. Siguro parang kailangan kong huminga kasi masyadong mabigat yung topic. Then in 2 minutes, we'll go back and discuss the hormones. Padali na lang to. What we are going to discuss here would be how do we produce estrogen, progesterone. Yung huling huling ILO natin, bakit progesterone ang mataas pag luteal phase and the effects of the hormones to the woman. Okay, 2 minutes. let's start so that you can have your lunch earlier. Okay. So let us now go to the hormones in the same manner that Dr. Baloloy this morning discussed cortisol, aldosterone as steroid hormones. The hormones coming from the ovaries are likewise considered steroid hormones. Okay, so estrogen, ang sources would be the adrenal cortex because, again, as I have said, androgens are all convertible to estrogens. And of course, in an unpregnant patient, we get it from the ovaries and during pregnancy from the placenta. There are so many types, but estradiol is the major estrogen produced by the ovaries. With regard to progesterone, again, it is obvious that you only produce it during the second half of the menstrual cycle, which is in the luteal phase. But definitely in pregnancy, the placenta produces it as early as the start of the pregnancy. You will learn that next week. Just to summarize the cells and the hormones produced, although I have already asked this question a while ago, the granulosa cells, sabi nga kanina ni Louie, if I remember the name correctly, sabi ko nga kay Louie, it will depend on the cycle. The granulosa cells during the follicular phase will produce only estrogen. However, in the luteal phase, the granulosa cells, through the influence of the luteinizing hormone, can produce both progesterone as well as estrogen. The theca cells, regardless of the cycle, will just respond to LH and produce androgens. Okay? And the same pathway shown to you a while ago by Dr. Baloloy is the same for estrogen and progesterone. That is, the parent compound is cholesterol and the rate limiting step is the production of cholesterol or conversion of cholesterol to pregnenolone. I'm showing you this slide again to explain why the estradiol peak causing the LH secretion only occurs at this point towards the end of the proliferative phase. Doc, bakit yung estrogen dun lang bonggang-bongga ang taas pag malapit na mag-ovulation? It is simply because, eyes on the screen, granulosa cells themselves, granulosa cells alone, do not have the capability to produce large amounts of estrogen. Kaya nung time na lumalaki pa lang yung mga pre-antral, no, very, very minimal, kaya nga sabi ko kanina, modest increase in estrogen, probably just enough to proliferate the endometrium, but not too high to stimulate the pituitary. Kasi yung granulosa cells alone are not very capable of producing high levels of estrogen. Why only occur at this point? It is because when the vesicular follicle or the follicle that is destined to become dominant is already chosen, merong ng theca cells involved. And theca cells contribute so much in the production of estrogen because of the two-cell 2-gonadotropin hypothesis. What does this hypothesis say? Yung parent compound, cholesterol, can only be converted to pregnenolone down to androgens. Diba? Cholesterol, pregnenolone, androgens. That pathway will only occur in the theca cells under the influence of LH. If you will ask me, Doc, bakit hindi pwede sa granulosa during the follicular phase 2? It's simply because the granulosa cells during the follicular phase do not yet have the LH receptors. So kung wala siyang LH receptors, it cannot convert cholesterol. It cannot use cholesterol as the substrate. So the only thing or the only cells that can use that would be the theca under the influence of LH. And androgens are produced by the theca cells. So the next question is, eyes on the screen, bakit hindi na lang yung androgens all the way converted to estrogen in the theca cells? Hindi pwede. Because converting androgens to estrogen needs aromatization. And the aromatase enzyme is only present in the granulosa under the influence of FSH. Therefore, in the follicular phase, this point, kailangan ng magtulungan ng dalawang cell at saka ng dalawang gonadotropin in the eventual production of high levels of estrogen. With the theca under the influence of LH converting cholesterol down to androgens, when the androgens are produced, it's inserted into the granulosa. The granulosa converts the androgens to estrogen via the process of aromatization under the influence of FSH. When did we produce the dominant? Dito lang sa point na to. Kaya dito nagkakaroon ng explosive production of estrogen that will eventually lead to LH surge. I hope that's clear. That's the 2-cell 2-gonadotropin hypothesis explaining why there is a massive release of estrogen by the dominant follicle towards the end of the follicular phase. Now going to the second question, last question actually in our ILO, bakit sa luteal phase there is massive production naman of progesterone and why can the granulosa cells produce progesterone at this point? It is because after the follicular phase, the granulosa cells are already laden also with LH receptors. So pag may LH receptors na yung granulosa cells ng corpus luteum, pwede na siyang mag-respond obviously to LH. And when that happens, the granulosa cells themselves can convert cholesterol to pregnenolone down to progesterone. Ito yung pathway na pinakita ata ni Dr. Balolay kanina sa lecture ng steroidogenesis. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, when we produce steroid hormones, it's just the same. Magsisimula sa cholesterol, rate-limiting step is the conversion of cholesterol to pregnenolone, then down the line. But in the adrenal cortex, hormones or enzymes are present that probably would allow the zona glomerulosa to produce aldosterone and the zona reticularis fasciculata to produce cortisol or aldosterone. Kasi kompleto sila ng mga enzymes na to. In the ovaries, alpha hydroxylase is not present. Walang alpha hydroxylase. Therefore, if you are to ask me, eyes on the screen, can the corpus luteum produce cortisol? The answer is no. Because there is a lacking enzyme that will further convert progesterone down the line. Wala siyang alpha hydroxylase. And what did you learn? Probably in biochemistry. In a hormonal pathway like this, if one enzyme is lacking, you do not produce the other hormones distal to the lacking enzyme, and you produce the hormone proximal to the lacking enzyme in high amounts, and that is progesterone. And that should be the case because in the luteal phase, you should have lots of progesterone to make the endometrium fit for possible pregnancy. Hanggang progesterone lang ang production. Kaya mataas ang production ng progesterone during the luteal phase. Napakaganda ng design, di ba? No one would ever think of that. Ito yung susundin nating steroid hormone pathway. Magsisimula ka sa cholesterol, dire-diretso ka, pwedeng aldosterone, pwedeng cortisol, pwedeng aldosterone na ma-produce mo. Kaya lang sa ovaries, huwag kang maglagay ng alpha hydroxylase kasi ang dapat na ma-produce lang doon, progesterone. Kasi kung hindi, di nag-produce ka ng cortisol sa ovary, yung level mo ng progesterone hindi ganun kataas. Paano magiging secretory ang endometrium? Who could ever design that? Very perfect design. Okay? So those are the reasons behind. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, I hope it will become a habit. Bakit kaya progesterone nandun lang sa luteal, wala sa follicular? Bakit ang taas niya sa luteal? No? You ask questions so that wisdom will come in. Sabi ni Dr. Baloloy, ang estrogen, progesterone, these are hormones degraded in the liver but predominantly excreted by the urine. Ganun din naman sa estrogen at sa progesterone. Lahat ng steroid hormones, it will be the same. So for the next probably 10 minutes, let me just illustrate to you the functions of estrogen as well as progesterone. Let's begin with estrogen first. Development of the female reproductive organ secondary to estrogen. The vulva of a child is like this. Pag woman na, adult, ganun na. Why did the structure mature? It's because of estrogen. No? So somewhere along the way in your medical career or medical life, medical career as a student, you will learn that there are some genetically female, no, pero wala silang mga ovaries, like in Turner syndrome. So if they have no ovaries, they do not produce estrogen, and in such cases, their reproductive organs remain infantile. Ibig sabihin, hindi nag-mature because wala siyang estrogen, which is responsible for this. Secondary female sexual characteristics, estrogen yan, of course, proliferation of the endometrium. The shape of a woman's body is quite different from that of the male because of estrogenic effect. Okay? The size of your breast is secondary to estrogen. So sabi ko yung mga malalaki, di ba yung mga well-endowed, gifted. Salamat ka sa estrogen mo. Estrogen ang dahilan ng yan. Yun namang mga parang nagkaita ng estrogen, huwag mo namang sisihin publicly. Sa isang sulong lang, bakit? Ano bang problema natin estrogen? Bakit ganito lang? Now, so the stromal ductal growth of the breast is estrogen. The skin of a woman is quite different from that of a male, secondary to estrogen. Puberty, hindi natin pinag-usapan. You will have the discussion on this in other probably subjects. But please remember that menarche, or the first appearance of the menstruation, is the last sign of puberty. Na pag niregla ng isang bata, ganap na siyang babae. Kasi that's the last sign. The third sign is accelerated growth. Biglang tangkad. That is because of estrogen. But there is another effect of estrogen on the epiphysis, and that is closure. So biglang tangkad pero biglang stop. So that's estrogenic effect. Production of a cervical mucus that is clear, watery, and slightly alkaline, meaning after your menstruation, some women would be probably experiencing discharge, not itchy, not foul smelling, seems watery. That is estrogenic effect. All right? Estrogen promotes osteoblastic activity. That's why in menopause, again, we will not discuss menopause, but menopause is simply the absence of menstruation, simply because the follicles that you have been recruiting every day one of menstruation is already depleted. Ibig sabihin, di ba nag-imba ka ng baby ka, ng fetus, ng embryo ka pa na 7 million to 2 million to 400,000, no? Menopause, lahat ng yun nawala na, ubos na, depleted na. So whenever FSH elevates, nothing to recruit. If you have nothing to recruit, then you do not allow follicles to grow. There's no estrogen production. Kung walang estrogen production, walang LH surge, walang ovulation, walang progesterone production. Kung walang progesterone production at walang decline, walang menstruation. That's why when there is menopause, the menstruation stops. But one important thing here is the absence of estrogen. So without estrogen, the osteoclastic activity predominates, making the menopausal woman prone to fracture. That's osteoporosis. Okay? And another effect is to increase the estrogen, to increase the protein component of the plasma. Alam niyo naman, ang coagulation factors are all examples of plasma proteins. Therefore, during pregnancy, when estrogen is very high, we say that pregnancy is a hypercoagulable state because of the increased definity of coagulation factors. So those are some of the effects of estrogen. Progesterone, on the other hand, causes lobulo-alveolar growth of the breast. lobulo-alveolar growth of the breast is responsible for or is actually preparing the breast for possible breastfeeding. So if the size of your boobs is secondary to estrogen, yung pamamaga ng boobs ninyo prior to menstruation, which is the luteal phase, is brought about by progesterone. Again, this is preparing, again, the breast for possible breastfeeding. I don't know, some of you, or probably most of you, will have this feeling of breast tenderness. Parang sakit ng boobs ko, magme-mens na ako. That is because of progesterone. So after mag-mens, wala na ang progesterone, the tenderness disappears because the lobulo-alveolar growth effect is lost. Progesterone. Okay? Secretory endometrium, you already know this. Next week, probably in the lecture of pregnancy, you will learn that progesterone is responsible for uterine quiescence. Why in 9 to 10 months the uterus is quiet, no? Kahit mag-exercise yung pasyente, pumapasok sa trabaho, nakikipag-sex sa asawa niya, the uterus is quiet. It's because of progesterone. Nourishment of the zygote as it travels through the fallopian tube before it implants in that secretory endometrium. This is still a function of progesterone. Prior to menstruation, some of you will have this vaginal discharge. Na in contrast to estrogenic effect, it's more of scanty and acidic. No? That's progesterone effect. Why is it scanty and viscous and acidic? It's protecting the inside of the endometrium for bacteria or mga germs to get inside. Kasi kung may pregnancy nga naman sa loob, di ba? So that again is emphasis concerned with pregnancy. It also increases the basal body temp. Kaya yung ibang babae, whenever they feel like feverish, mga ano nila is, para akong nag-ovulate because ang taas ng body temp. There's a basis to that because progesterone increases the basal body temperature. Ako, kahit pa sabihin kung gusto ko mag-ovulate, whenever I feel feverish, fever siguro talaga yun, no? And not ovulation. And I think this is the last slide. And that is now the end of the lecture in female physiology. So going back to our ILOs kanina, ang ILO, ibig sabihin internal learning outcome. What's your intention for giving the lecture? I intend to give the lecture so that at the end of the lecture, these are the outcomes that the listeners will have. And I hope on your own, sabi ko nga kanina, reflect, kaya ko na bang sagutin to on my own? Sana. Kasi when you can explain it to yourself, or probably you can call a friend, well, ikay papaliwanag ko yung sagot dito. Probably there's learning. What's the difference between the first and the second meiotic divisions? What completes meiosis 1? What completes meiosis 2? Why only one follicle becomes dominant among the 12 that has been recruited? When does ovulation occur? Is it after day 1 or is it before day 1? Why is progesterone the predominant hormone in the luteal phase? I hope all of these questions you can already answer after this lecture. Okay, so that's the end, and thank you so much for listening.